we're a little early.
I don't see anybody in a harness over there. Couple weeks.
All right, it is 6 p.m. We'll call this city council meeting to order. 7 p.m., sorry. We'll call this city council meeting to order. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Doing roll call, all voting members are present. We do have an oath of office today as well.
So, Mr. Mayor, Luke Merrill, please repeat after me.
I,
State your name.
Luke Merrill,
Do solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States,
do solemnly swear to support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and to discharge faithfully the duties of Mayor of the City of Isanti, Minnesota,
and to discharge faithfully the duties of Mayor of the City of Isanti, Minnesota,
to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
to the best of my judgment and ability, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you. All right, we'll open up for public comment. If there's any public comment tonight, you're more than welcome to come forward and just state your name and address for the record. Hearing none, we will close the public comment. Next, we'll move on to adopting the agenda. I did have a couple changes that I'd like to propose. One would be to add business item L7, LMC discussion. And then I believe you guys had wanted to add an L8 for Fire Board Joint Powers Agreement discussion?
No, not tonight.
Not tonight? Okay.
No.
Were there any other additions or changes?
Mr. Mayor, I think that Councilmember Peterson would like to discuss an item within the personnel policy. Should we be able to find it? So if we could add that to L8, and if we are able to bring that forward this evening, we will do so.
All right. Anybody have any objections or further changes to that?
Motion approved with the changes.
Second.
Motion approved by Councilmember Lundin, second by Councilmember Peterson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries, so the agenda is approved. Next, we'll move on to approval of city council meeting minutes, August 19th, 2025, city council budget work session meeting minutes. Any
Motion to
questions?
approve all three.
Second.
All right, motion approved from Councilmember Lundin, second from Councilmember Peterson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All the minutes are approved. Announcements, Committee of the Whole meeting Tuesday, September 16th, 2025 at 5 p.m. Planning Commission meeting Tuesday, September 16th, 2025 at 6 p.m. City Council meeting Tuesday, September 16th, 2025 at 7 p.m. And Park and Rec Board meeting Tuesday, September 23rd, 2025 at 6 p.m. Council committee reports.
I have two.
Have at it.
So went to the Chamber of Commerce meeting and they celebrated their 10th birthday. It was at the Isanti County History Center. So they gave a spiel about it being available for events and talking about the historic building near there. And then a bunch of people obviously gave their presentations for new businesses, which there was quite a few and events going on. And they also attended the Fire District Board meeting for George, in Georgetown, I mean. There was a lot of discussion about the joint powers agreement, and there was some other stuff that was brought up. I made a push for some transparency. I asked that the meetings be recorded or streamed, and there was only one other person that was receptive to that idea. They weren't really interested in having that stuff be. They said they didn't have the ability through personnel or through, they didn't have the physical means to do that, which doesn't make sense to me.
I will note that was just one member of the board that kind of said that and directed that conversation. There wasn't a formal vote on that,
Wasn't
which
a
I would
formal
like to
vote.
see.
One was receptive to the idea, but everyone else was either silent or against. But as far as that's not for now, but yeah. you attended as well, so you saw some of what was going on and some of the issues.
Yeah, it was interesting. That was a like 4-hour meeting. There was a lot discussed, and I think there's some good positive changes coming. I do think it would be nice if they did some video or live streaming of their stuff just for public record. That would be nice for everybody to be able to watch it. I won't be able to attend all the time. It's kind of one of those things where I could go when I can. But if they were to do it online, I could watch it anytime. Anybody could watch it anytime. So I would hope that they'll do that or consider doing that, but that's just my 2 cents on that.
Yeah, I've tried. I'm glad you guys tried. Having prior commitments and not being able to attend a fire district meeting, it would have been very nice to be able to see a recording or at least listen to a recording of the meeting so I could hear everything that was discussed, because it sounds like a lot was discussed. And, yeah, it's a shame that the board members won't step forward and say, yeah, let's make these meetings public. It's for their own benefit, and I don't get it for transparency and to use an excuse of, oh, we'll take time or we'll take money. That's not an excuse. Not an excuse to have transparency at all. In fact, it's money well spent, and it's money well spent for the members of that board to be able to go back and reference past meetings, but
The idea I had in
it's
my head,
frustrating.
I don't know if it's ever been discussed or not, but they talked about not having the ability to record and stream meetings. I know that we allow the council chambers to be used when they're not in use. Would they be able to meet here, and that way we can help them with that burden?
That's a good idea.
Yeah,
I think, is that a possibility, Ms. Wood?
Could you state that again, please?
Would we be able to offer the fire district to use the council chambers so that they can do recording and streaming, since the schedule doesn't interfere with our schedule?
That's something that could be discussed, and I would think that could be approved by council. Right now, we have a policy that states that meetings can take place in here for the, go to the public during work hours, because otherwise staff needs to be here. So the policy would need to be looked into.
yeah, that would be great, because what happens at a lot of these meetings is there's not a lot of seating because the fire district pays their volunteers to attend the meetings, and they take up so much seating that the public doesn't have room to sit. I've had that complaint by more than one person. The reason they don't attend them is because seating is so sparse at most of the firehouses. So that would alleviate one of the problems with those meetings, but that's,
I also advocated for making the agenda known beforehand, publishing that, and there wasn't much.
that would be nice. They're their own thing over there. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm only one voice. Park and, anything else?
That's it for mine.
Park and Rec, we had a discussion with Dave, who came up and looked at the skate park. Apologize for that whole meeting not getting recorded. It looked like it stopped about halfway through. I like his plans. I think he'll be at the next meeting. I thought it would be on this agenda. I asked Stephanie to try to get it on this agenda. She was gonna talk to Nick about some limits that we have to be able to authorize a project like this. Did she talk to you? Do you have any feedback for council for that?
What was the first part that you discussed? I kind of came in halfway through.
Okay.
The BMX, or not the BMX,
The
the skate park.
Park? Okay.
Yeah, what is the maximum that council can authorize without going out to bid? Because we have gone out to bid a few times and we haven't received any responses.
Yeah, so we can do a project with quote under 50,000, and then in between 50 and 250,000 is that bid process
Okay,
discussed. So, yeah, me and Stephanie are kind of working through that skate park stuff and seeing if we're able to get another bid or quote, or trying to make sure we check the boxes on that stuff. So, yeah, we've had those discussions, and we'll bring it back to council, hopefully at the next meeting.
so, yeah, I'd like then to hopefully get this on the next city council meeting, and then you can look at his designs, and the price range was up there a little higher than expected to get everything that he was, showed us and was putting forward, which I really liked the design, and it was a complete redesign of the whole skate park. So all the equipment that's in the skate park right now would be moved and reconfigured. I guess we can make a decision, but he was at like about somewhere around 150-ish for a total redesign and new equipment. And the new equipment looked like most of it would be in concrete, so the life expectancy of it would be 25 to 50 years. And he didn't see any reason why we wouldn't be on the higher end of that because we have a really good solid pad there. So I'd like to bring him forward to that meeting too. So can we get that on the next council of the whole, next council meeting? And then it sounds like Dave will come up here, give you guys a presentation, have you look at it. I mean, we don't have to do the $150,000 design he had. There is other options to bring that closer to 100. I don't think we're gonna get it under 100 though. That's all I got.
If he's, excuse me, Councilmember Heeman, if he's not able to make it to the next meeting, should we push it to the following cow, given his availability?
Sure,
Okay, we'll see if he can attend the 16th, though.
that works.
It would be nice if we could put it on Kyle either way, and then we could look at the plans and discuss too, and maybe look back at the video. I did watch the park video that was available. Is the other half saved to the servers? Did Facebook just quit, or what happened with the other half of the video? You weren't here, so I'm not sure if you know.
30-day mark.
I'm not sure, I'm not aware, but I can definitely check with the city clerk tomorrow.
Okay,
It dropped off after the 30-day mark. Remember, Facebook's not retaining videos beyond 30 days? So that video hit 31 and disappeared.
no, it was just last week. This is the
Oh, the
last
most
week's,
recent one?
last week's park
Oh.
board meeting. It cut out about halfway through.
Okay,
It just cut out.
okay.
So we'll add it either way? but
Yeah,
we'll
I
still
think
invite
so.
him. Okay.
To Kyle.
Was there any update on the security concerns or?
Oh, so I talked to the staff members that were involved in that, and they didn't have any security concerns at all. And the reason that I pushed to have PD here is because I didn't have the whole story, and we didn't get the whole story, and no, there was no need for PD to be here. In fact, she felt bad that that was even going to happen. So yeah, there'll be no need for PD at any meetings after last meeting.
And that was a miscommunication between staff and council? Or staff and
No,
staff that was
It
related
was
to us?
yeah, between staff and staff, and then
Okay.
staff and council, because we didn't get the full story. I'm just being frank.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Any other council committee reports? I went to the school board meeting a couple weeks ago. It was relatively uneventful. I did have another meeting with the superintendent and the finance, or not the superintendent, the finance director and the community outreach director. Myself and Todd Christensen were there to get more information on the referendum. I did get some more information on that, and I will probably come forward with quite a bit more information to present to council or to the public, I guess, at a future meeting. Any other council committee reports? All right, then we will move on to business item L1, resolution to consider approving an interim use permit for a tattoo parlor at 303 Credit Union Drive Northeast, Suite 5. Ms. Wood.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So we have Idle Hands Tattoo has submitted an application for an interim use permit to continue the operation of the tattoo shop at 303 Credit Union Drive Northeast, Suite 5. The previous interim use permit for this business had expired in July. The Plan Commission had held a public hearing on August 19th, and it is recommended that we approve their request. They have submitted all documentation necessary.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Councilmember Lundin, second by Councilmember Peterson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. And I would just like to say it's a great tattoo studio. I haven't heard any complaints about it, so we appreciate you in our community. Thank you for coming in again. So that was approved 5-0. Next, we'll move on to L2, resolution to consider approving the special event permit for the Main Street Fall Extravaganza.
Mayor and Council, so Christy Patrick, representing Pretty Little Signs, and Amy Rockstead of Rockstead & Co. Relics and Wares has submitted a special event permit for the Main Street Fall Extravaganza to happen on Saturday, September 28th, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The event scope includes that they'll have some food trucks, at least one food truck in designated areas on the spots of Main Street, and other vendors will be set up along the sidewalks. Main Street access will stay open to through traffic. They had previously requested some road closure, but they recognized with the detour and the work being done that they're like, we need to leave this open, and staff had agreed. The event will be following all City of Isani rules, regulations, including the public safety and for trash management of their event. Even though it's outside, they're going to take care of all the cleanup and any permits. They have filled out all the documentation, and they have requested to use cones, barricades, and picnic tables from Public Works, and they can get that and coordinate that through them. So we're hoping that they have a great event, and staff is recommending approval.
So I did have a couple questions on the cones and everything they need to, they would be picking them up themselves, and we would just have to open the doors basically at Public Works to them, or would we be delivering them?
I think that, well, I'll let Mr. Becker speak on it.
I asked the same question to Stephanie. She said we'd probably deliver them.
Okay, how much time do you think that would take? An hour each way, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay,
Maybe half hour each way.
okay. And then in our council cover page, it says one food truck, but in their application, it says 2 food trucks. Do we know for sure if it's gonna be 1 or 2?
The applicant is not present, so I'm not able to ask. I would believe that it was 2, given that that's what they had stated in their application. That's what I would go with for their request.
Okay, and then, I know there's been traffic concerns in that area, Dahlin and Main Street, it's kind of a blind spot. And I personally worry about a food truck set up there, on the north side of Main. If you look at the drawing there, it's in front of Pretty Little Signs. I was wondering if we allow it on the street, if they could move it further, east, so it's a little bit further out of that intersection. A food truck, you know, they're 8.5 feet wide, and that takes up quite a bit more eyesight than a 6-foot car. So I don't know if we could ask them to either move it further east, or there is that big grassy area between the Rockstead building and that apartment quadplex. I don't know if that could be set up there for their food vendor. That is owned by the quadplex.
Yeah.
Yeah, so-
they'd have to get their permission to do
Sure.
it. The city can't do anything about that.
Right. So I didn't know, I was hoping they would be here so I could ask those couple questions. But that's my concern with the heavier traffic flow on Main Street there right now with the roundabout construction. It's a little bit of a concern for myself.
Unfortunately, I'm not sure why they're not able to attend this evening. It's possible that if you have a recommendation and some stipulations that you could approve with those conditions.
We could we table this till the next meeting since the date of the event is the 27th?
The only thing that could be of potential concern would be if they're trying to approve all their vendors. They do have a lot of craft vendors coming. If they're not able to tell them until the 17th, I think that that's very short notice. They may lose their vendors.
I make a motion to approve it, maybe, like you said, moving that food truck down for line of sight with that construction. They could even park it on the other side of their building on Dahlin.
In the dirt road, or dirt parking lot there, that was
Parking
another.
lot, yeah, I mean, there's always options, so, and it's 1 truck or 2. It's, you know, we've always stated we're trying to be friendly for these things, for food trucks. So I don't want to put any stipulations on that. So I make a motion to approve it with the consideration that they figure out different for that food truck.
I do have one more question. On the application page, 2 of the required things are unchecked. Do you know if those were completed after we got the copy?
Yes, I believe that the indemnification and all those requirements were completed. Yep, I think that staff just didn't check it off before it was included into the packet.
Okay.
Yep, and, yep.
Second.
There's a motion from Councilmember Lundin, second from Councilmember Peterson. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item L3, resolution to consider approving the cannabis micro-business registration for AEY LLC.
Mayor and Council, AEY LLC has submitted a cannabis micro-business registration application, and they have also submitted the written pre-approval from the OCM, Office of Cannabis Management, to operate a cannabis micro-business at 703 Eastwood Boulevard Northeast. Through review, that has been recommended to proceed forward the City Council in consideration, as it is permitted within their zoning location and is permitted due to having the pre-approval from OCM. Staff has included a definition of the cannabis microbusiness within the memo. And I believe we do have the applicant present.
So I did have one question. If you look at the registered address for the LLC, it's at a shopping mall. It looks to be a kiosk address, not a suite address. Is there any, I guess, further explanation on that, or is that, I guess I'm not sure what the state requires for that. Do you have to have a physical address location that's not a kiosk, or maybe just come on up and state your name and address for the record? Can you come up to the, yeah. Thank you. Thank you for being here also.
Hi, my name's Kyle Cron. I'm the owner of the AEY LLC. So your question about the kiosk in the mall, that's separate. So that's going to have nothing to do with the new business being established here. So that's actually going to be, I'm either selling that or just dissolving that altogether. So that's going to be something completely separate.
Okay.
So yeah, that has nothing to do with the establishment that would be at the property here.
Okay, so would you be registering it under a different LLC then?
No.
Okay.
So it'd be AEY LLC would be the same
Okay.
LLC, but that business again would be separate. That's a different establishment that's under the hemp license. So the cannabis license and hemp license are two different things. So the cannabis micro business would be the one here, and then that one is under the hemp license.
Okay.
So,
Sounds good. Did you guys have any other questions?
Okay, we have a 701 address, and you're seeing a different one on the application? Is that?
Yeah, so
What you were clarifying?
I always just, if there's an LLC trying to do business in the city, I always look up the LLC, and I just found out that the LLC was associated with the shopping mall address.
Okay.
And I wasn't sure
That's-
if that was the permanent address, or if you were planning on changing that address with the license, or.
that will be changed. That's just
Okay.
where it currently is. That's where my current operation is
Yep.
held, and that will be changed. So on the application, that's just where it currently is
Got it.
at the moment. So if that answers,
It does.
okay, cool.
So if it were to go through, you'd probably change it to the address up here?
Yes,
Okay,
yes. Since it's not technically here yet established, that's just what I had put down first.
okay, makes perfect sense.
Did you state your name and address?
Yes.
I
And
just thought he
address,
said that
just his name.
LLC. Okay.
Just my name.
What's your address, please?
The business address or home address or?
What's required?
He can give his business address.
The business address is 8251 Flying Cloud Drive, Eden Prairie, 55344.
Okay. Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion to approve from Councilmember Lundin, second from Councilmember Holmgren. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And I will be abstaining from this like I have in the past.
Can I make a comment about this?
Sure.
I really want to revisit this whole situation again, because when we made the ordinances that we made, we were under the assumption that the state of Minnesota was going to give us X percent. And since they took that away, now all the enforcement that is required for these establishments now falls on taxpayers. And when we set this all up and when we set up our ordinance, that wasn't the case. We figured at that time that the revenue coming in from the tax that was gonna get spread to the municipalities and counties would be able to be sufficient enough to cover the enforcement of having these establishments. That's why we kept it open. Let the free market work. We're all kind of in that mindset, you know? But just think maybe we might want to look at this in the future again and talk about it. That's all.
I agree, and we will be talking later about LMC policy committees. I actually have one that I'm working on for cannabis management recuperation fee, basically from the state for us having to, do our permitting process and to have PD do enforcement or whatever. So I do have a policy recommendation that I'm going to be submitting to the state, or hopefully submitting to the state legislature on that. Hopefully that helps us, but I agree. I think since the state pulled the rug out from under us, which I suspected and said they probably would, we need to do something.
discuss
But it has
it?
nothing to do with this business. I think I'm excited for them to be here, and I think it'll be a good opportunity for everybody, but
Can we bring that by cow then?
What?
Can
Bring
we
it
add
up.
that to cow then?
sure.
Quick question, remember when we had a discussion about fees and we were gonna set it, we talked about setting it at half the maximum, but did we end up agreeing to the maximum?
I think we agreed to the maximum.
Okay, good, because I thought,
Ms.
I'm
Wood,
hoping we did, because that will help cover some expenses anyway.
do you remember on the registration fees, did we set that to the state allotted maximum? I think it was $1,000 for,
Not all, so we were able to set them, some of them were up to 50% of what the OCM charges for their permit fees.
okay.
So I do believe that we set them as high as we could, but I'd have to double check. It's been a while since we set those fees. I'd have
Yeah,
to
in the
double-
meantime, I'd like to revisit that and definitely set them at the maximum, only because of what the state did and be able to cover our future expenses that we may have.
I'll add that to the cow discussion.
Okay.
Do you have any questions for us? Or,
Not necessarily, unless there's anything else that you'd like me to address, or I can clean up any other, concerns or any.
No, it's a great location. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Justin, did you have something you'd like to say? Come on forward and just state your name and address for the record. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, Justin Nielsen, General Manager of Wolford Electric, 101 at Santee Parkway Northeast. I did just want to share with the city and with you all that this, our business model changed a little bit. We brought distribution in-house over the past year and a half, and that's been great for business. It's really helped us grow and expand into other parallel avenues as well. The business that we have, or the building we have right now, it doesn't really fit that model that well. There's no dock. It's not the proper height for the type of shelving we need. So we ended up having to rent a warehouse in Ham Lake that has 15,000 square feet and one in Rush City at 20,000 square feet. So by doing this, we're going to be able to bring the distribution centers back into town. We're in the process of closing on Evercat, as well as there's one other building that we're currently looking at that might be a good fit. Might not be, we're still deciding. But I did want to thank the council and the city for getting this through, because I know it's going to be a hot topic, so I really do appreciate it. It's bringing a lot of jobs to the city, so thank you all.
Yeah, and thank you for coming in and being a valuable member of our business community, both of y'all, so.
And Mayor, for the record, could you state the reason for the abstention?
Because I abstained from the last one, and I have been very vocal against the way the state rolled this out and pulled the rug from under us, so I don't want to vote against this business, but I don't want to vote for it because I don't believe what the state did was fair for us. All righty. Item L4, resolution consider approving sale of the Iceni Fire Hall to the Iceni Area Joint Operating Fire District.
In 2021, the City of Iceni and the Iceni Area Joint Operating Fire District entered into a lease purchase agreement for the Iceni Fire Hall. The agreement attached to the council packet outlined the base lease terms and payments for 2021 through 2025 for $120,000 per year, totaling $600,000. These payments had been applied to the purchase price, and which is to be finalized at closing. The fire district submitted and the city received their final payment, so the title to the property may now be transferred to the fire district pursuant to the terms of the lease purchase agreement.
So I do have a question. None of us were on council at that time, other than Lundin. Was that price based on, I assume, some sort of assessment or appraisal of the property?
Yes, we did
Okay.
get an appraisal done.
Okay.
Yes, there was an appraisal done on
Yep.
it.
And they've met all requirements of the contract, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And we do, just for your knowledge, if you're unaware, we do have an easement carved out for the well house that is there. There is language in there included about the generator use, and then as well as the community sign. All that is agreed upon, which does go transferred over to the fire district.
So do we still own the generator once the signed contract is signed?
We still own the generators because we also use it for the well house, but they
Okay.
are able to use it.
Okay,
It was all,
And
Sounds
we
good.
do-
Yep.
We
It was
do our
all
regular testing as we normally would because we need to make sure it's operable for us.
okay. Sounds good.
motion to approve.
Question regarding on page 1, item B, how that would apply, or if that needs to be amended?
The Isanti Police Department one?
Yeah.
So that is the Isanti Police Department was in there at the time that we executed this lease to purchase agreement. And it was decided upon by council, and I'd have to look up the date, I'm not 100% on it, but that they were able to occupy it once the
PD moved out.
PD moved over to their new facility. So they've actually taken over full occupancy of that whole building for a year and a half.
Yeah, something like that. Maybe January 1st of last year.
So this part here is only talking about leasing, they're not purchasing only half the building, they're purchasing the full building?
They're purchasing the full building and property.
Okay.
It was just let up as, the lease was just for half the building. That's when the fire department was in there. That was that lease carryover is all it was.
Yeah, their lease started like in 2005, the original lease. So it's a lease that was modified, and then it went to a lease to purchase. That was just the best way that the attorneys thought it was best to move forward, to make sure that payments were applied when we established that. But because they were still using the facility that we owned, we had to still keep some of the original language, such as they carry their own insurance because they're in part of the building. And there's some different things like that we wanted to make sure we retain that language too.
And the PD did not have to move out until they've made the final payment. So we moved out early, they moved into the whole building.
And that was decided upon by council.
Yep. So I made a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion approved by Councilmember Lundin, second from Councilmember Holmgren. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next, we will go on to L5, the city ash tree survey presentation and emerald ash borer planning.
Mayor and council, I apologize, we're having some technical difficulties with our screens tonight. I'll ask you to follow along with me in the handouts you were provided. So earlier this year, council directed staff to contract with Davy Resource Group to conduct an ash tree inventory of the city, of all ash trees in the parks and right-of-ways. And these are the data we received from that. There were 477 total ash trees. 396 of those are within street right-of-ways. 81 are within parks or around city buildings. Emerald ash borer was first detected in Minnesota in 2009. It's spreading rapidly. It kills virtually all ash trees within 3 to 5 years of infestation. Currently, 22% of the inventoried ash trees within the city of Isanti are showing symptoms, and they don't show symptoms within the first year of infection, so we can expect that a higher percentage than that is currently infected. And we expect all ash trees in the city to be dead within 6 to 10 years. By city ordinance, trees within the right-of-way are currently the responsibility of the adjacent property owners, which means that residents would be responsible for the removal of those 396 right-of-way trees, in addition to any other ash trees that are located on their physical property.
And is that, you said state ordinance, did you mean city?
City.
City
I'm sorry,
ordinance,
did I say
okay.
state? Yeah.
There is no, is there any state ordinance or restriction on this?
No, some
Okay.
cities take care of right-of-way trees, some don't.
Sure, okay.
81 ash trees, as I said, are located within the maintained areas of city parks and grounds. To maintain current level of urban canopy, these trees would need to be either treated with pesticides or replaced. So the pesticide treatments are injected into the base of the tree. They're effective only on uninfested or very lightly infested trees. If the tree is showing signs of infestation, it's probably too late for the treatments to work. And the treatments need to be repeated every 2 years to be effective. They cost between $11 and $15 per inch DBH, which is the diameter of the tree at 4.5 feet off the ground. So just as an example, the 16 ash trees in Matson Park would cost between $2,321 and $3,165 to treat at current rates, and that would have to be repeated every 2 years. Our staff recommendations are to plan to remove and replace most park ash trees within the next 5 years in locations where removal of ash trees would cause a significant degradation of aesthetics or public use. Consider either possibly treating the trees for a period of 10 to 12 years that would allow replacement trees the opportunity to get established and start growing, so we don't have a barren area for that period.
I do have a quick question, if that's
Yeah.
okay. On the treatment photo, the pesticide treatment, they show there's PVC tubes at the bottom, they must be spiked in, and then I assume those are removed once they
Yes.
have the tree treated, so they're not just sitting there like that?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
It takes about 2 hours, depending on temperature and moisture in the ground, for the injection to be completed.
Okay, thank you.
Replacement trees, boulevard and park trees, improve property values, provide shade, reduce runoff, and improve air quality. Replacement trees should be a diverse number of species to reduce the threat of future invasive pests, so that in 30 years, we're not back in the same situation with whatever new disease comes from another country and starts killing maples or whatever gets targeted next. Some good urban trees that can handle salt and temperature and compaction that are common in both parks and right-of-ways are bur oak, northern catalpa, hackberry, Kentucky coffee tree, swamp white oak, and basswood. So staff would like direction moving forward, whether we should be planning to remove just parks trees or parks trees and right-of-way trees, if we should do any pesticide treatments. And there's also a relief grant from the state of Minnesota that could cover some of these costs potentially. We're wondering if council would like us to apply for that.
I think we better apply for that grant.
Yeah.
I still feel that those boulevard trees is, the problem is the city doesn't allow you to plant on the boulevard anymore. Hasn't for years. Those trees have been here before any of that was all discussed. So, I mean, if we can help offset some of those homeowners on the cost of removing those trees, plus removing our own, we could probably remove some of our own in the parklands, so we're not paying the tree service to do it. I think we should apply for that grant and move forward.
I definitely agree. I think if it were just me making the decision, I would like to see us apply for the grant, and then if we get awarded the grant, we use all that grant money to take out the most dead trees first, then apply for it again and sort of go along that route.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
Jared,
One note
could-
with the grant funding is that if grant money is used to remove trees, we're required to
Replant.
replace them in place.
Right.
Except for the boulevard trees, we can't replace them, because it's,
We would still have to. If we use the grant money, we have to replace them in the same location.
And that includes within the boulevard, and they would be 2-inch diameter? They'd be very small
2.5,
trees.
there's a couple options, but yeah, they have to be very small. They can't be large.
What's the average cost per tree?
200 and, I got one estimate, we were waiting on another estimate. It'd be $250 per tree plus the cost for the labor to plant it, plus the cost of the tree. At that size, depending on species, I would think $50 to $75 per tree.
Oh,
plus
you
the
better figure more than
$250
that.
cost.
So,
It depends how many we buy and what species it is too.
Yep. So if we did all 396 right-of-way trees, figuring about 325 average planting per tree, would be 128,000 just to replant.
and that's why I said we should be planning to do so many a year. within the next 10 years to do it.
If we take them down, we are not obligated to replant.
Correct. If we don't use grant money, we are not obligated to replant.
Would it be possible to use the grant money just to replant the park trees if we were to just allocate potential grant money for, I mean, I guess we could probably do whatever we wanted, but and allocate the potential grant money to parks because we would want to replace that tree anyhow.
Right, we could apply for the grant for just parks trees, yep.
Okay.
I think we apply for the grant and see what we get. And take it the money as it goes, and I think we should start budgeting for removal of so many trees a year.
Sure.
I mean, if,
I don't know how we would have to be forced to plant them back in a boulevard when we're not allowed to plant them in a boulevard. I could say moving it off the boulevard, so it's on the other side of the sidewalk.
If they choose, don't the property owners have a choice? If they choose no tree, then
They would
they're
have
not
the right to
required?
say no to us, yeah.
So,
And it does say within the application, Jerry, maybe you could just speak a little bit more to the grant on, so if it's trees within the parkland, it has to be a minimum of 1-to-1, which then would make you think that if we had requested to plant 3 trees, as you know, we do budget for planting trees in our parks, a 3-to-1, perhaps we could get some more trees into our parks if we're taking down ash trees. And also, there are some continued work, right? We have to make sure all the new trees planted are GPSed. We have to have a 3-year plan moving forward. So can you talk a little bit more about what the grant
Yeah,
entails?
each
Because it will
replacement-
take staff time.
Each replacement tree has to be GPSed for the grant reporting. The DNR wants to know where the trees are. And we have to have a 3-year establishment plan. We can't just plant the trees and walk away and let them die. So we have to have a watering plan. Depending on the location, you know, they might need mulch, they might need a barrier for weed whips to not damage them, things like that. And because the size requirement makes them small and vulnerable to deer and people alike, frankly, damaging them, probably want to have some kind of damage control as part of our plan. So a lot of the grant requirements do also increase costs and, you know, in some ways offset the gains of the grant, but.
Is there, for 3 years, we have to make sure we keep that tree alive, then is basically what they're saying?
Right.
Does it state anything about if the tree dies? Is it the city's responsibility to replant that?
Right, yep.
So,
Well, we'd
the
want-
only
we'd-
challenge with these smaller trees, and we had planted them, and some of you probably remember, in Bluebird Park, when that park was newer, we planted little trees, and a lot of them got broken. That's why when we reestablished trees going into the parks as part of the budget, we had bigger trees going in, so, because kids just hang, just by nature of being kids, and they get damaged. So just so you're aware, we do need to make sure we maintain those for
Well, I
3
definitely
years.
wouldn't. I don't care if you spent $50 or $500 on a tree, you don't want it to die on you, irregardless. So, I mean, you're gonna definitely wanna try to keep them alive anyway. I mean, you see a lot of places that have trees that grow them to sell them. You know, they put, lack of words, chicken wire around them.
Yep.
To keep the deer out of it, and it helps keep people from getting into it. So, I mean, there's a simple way of doing that, so.
yeah, from the sounds of it, I think I'd be opposed to using the grant funding for the residential or the right-of-way. I think there's just a lot of long-term headache from that. In the parks, I think we're there consistently enough as a staff to watch the trees. I don't know how Josh feels about that with the grant requirements. I don't know if you've had a chance. That's pretty long. There's a lot of words in that. I tried reading about half of it, and it's like, oh, man, a lot of rules in there. Do you have any opinion on what you see in the Emerald Ash Borer report and any of that stuff?
I think it'd be a lot easier to do it in our parks than all over the whole town.
Sure.
With the relief application, it says at the same location whenever feasible and possible. Is that black and white or is that gray?
I suppose technically it's a shade of gray, but I would call it a very dark shade of gray. They're gonna want a good reason why it can't be planted there. In most of our boulevard trees, there's nothing preventing, from a vegetative, biological point of view, there's nothing preventing another tree being planted there. So I think the DNR would expect it to be within 5 or 10 feet of the same spot.
Or there was like any ordinance or code that prohibited it?
Right. That might be something to ask.
Well, it prevents, I think city code prevents residents from planting within the right-of-way. I don't think there's anything that says the city can't.
But then again, if you're asking your residents, you can't do it, then we shouldn't be doing it.
That's what I'm saying.
That's why I said, if you're removing them from the boulevard, we should not be planting another one in the boulevard.
I think it's the push from the state. The DNR has, wanted cities to have tree canopy, just for greenscape and all those other things that trees are good for. So I'm guessing it's just keeping in with theirs, just one for one, for canopy and greenscape.
And I don't think we've discussed, I know right now it says in our ordinance that residents are responsible for this. Is there any way, if we have to pay out a lot of money to get these removed, is there any way we could just do a cost share type thing with residents? Would that be something you guys would ever consider?
I have a couple out-of-the-box ideas. One is, do you think you guys could handle doing one tree a week in your schedule? Sure, it would take 7.5 years to get them all, but I'm just curious. That's the first question I have. If you could do one a week.
Well, I guess, if we don't do the grant, we don't have to do it in a certain time period?
Right.
Because there is a time period on that too, right? So I'm sure we could do a tree. Not that I want to be in everybody's front.
I know.
yard all the time, but-
I know.
But, then, I mean, I
Chip away at it?
chip away
Chip
at
away
it,
the-
take the
the
dead
worst
ones
ones.
first, the ones that are completely gone first, and just, worse, not as bad, and then just finally be done with them.
Right, and then my other question is if we did offer, like you were saying, some kind of a rebate, if we wanted to go that direction, would be if we gave the 396 trees in the right of way at $100 each would be $39,000. But if we did go that direction in the future and decided to say to a homeowner, if you have to pay for a tree service because you can't do it yourself or have friends that would help you take that tree down, we'd pitch in $100. Something like that. I'm just throwing a number out there because the true cost of all this, I mean, just to do it, we all know it's astronomical. It's budget busting. There's no doubt about it. So, yeah, there's some other directions, I mean, I think we could look at if we wanted to go that direction, because you were just asking about maybe helping them out some way. I mean, we'd have to come up with a way that's fair. I mean, if I had one on my boulevard, I'm able-bodied, I wouldn't have any problem going up there and cutting a tree down and
There have been a lot of
having
people
couple
taking them down.
friends that would block the road if I'm gonna drop it that way and get that thing cut up, and, I don't know how many residents are willing to do that. There has to be a good majority. I would have to say more than less, but I'm not sure.
Did the inventory account for how many trees would be difficult fells or require rigging or an arborist to,
It accounted for if there were overhead utilities nearby.
did it give a
Be the
num,
main factor in that for right-of-way trees.
how many were within that?
That number, it was a small number, I want to say 90-something, but don't quote me on that.
Would it be beneficial? I know right now there's nobody on Public Works staff that's like a certified arborist. Do you know how much education and training goes along with that? Would that be something that would be handy for us to have? I have no idea, just a
Next
total.
10 years, it probably would.
What's that?
For the next 10 years, it probably would.
Yeah, it depends, I guess, what the city's plans are for the urban forest going forward. You know, if we're gonna try to maintain a right-of-way canopy, then we're gonna wanna have somebody on staff who can maintain that. If we're just gonna have a handful of parks trees, we might not need that past this EAB period.
I'm just thinking, would it be cheaper for us to send someone to training and get this training so that we don't have to do any of the stuff out of house? We can just do it all as Public Works time with somebody that's certified to do it and they're safe to drop trees around, infrastructure type
Well,
stuff.
for tree removal.
Yeah.
I guess I'll let Josh speak to that.
We got guys that have been to, I wouldn't say arborists, but they've been to chainsaw trainings and
Okay.
stuff like that. They're not tree climbers. The other issue you might run into is how many people want us in their, front yard, cutting them down? What are we taking the stumps out? Do we have to buy a stump grinder? Or a backhoe to dig them out, or?
I would think that you'd be better off if you, just saying numbers, take 10 trees down, have somebody come in with a stump grinder and grind the 10 and be done with it. And I'll be honest with you, as a resident, if you're gonna take this tree out that's diseased, as long as you don't tear the hell out of my yard, or you're gonna throw some sod down or throw some black dirt down and reseed it, I wouldn't have a problem with it, myself personally.
I think we should come up with a timeline of how long we're gonna take care of this problem, because maybe another option is too, and I don't know if there's liability, if we have a stump there, the height of the stump, if it can sit for 1 year, 2 year, till these trees are taken care of, then hire somebody to do the stump removal all at once.
You're gonna
Just
get-
go through and.
You'll
all
get
of them.
nothing but complaints from residents about it. Just these few trees from last year's storm, I was getting complaints like every week about the stumps. They're like, when is
Okay.
the city gonna handle these stumps, especially the one across from the tennis courts, even though it's county easement? I was getting nailed for those, even though they're county responsibility. Finally, it's out of there, but people will complain about the stumps, so I don't think that's a realistic option, unfortunately.
How much is a stump remover, and are they resellable? Could you do a little research, how much one would cost, and if, after we're done with it, if we could sell it? Because I don't think we're gonna have a lot of use for it in the future.
I did look up, like a skid steer stump grinder, anywhere from 8,000 to 12,000.
Okay,
And there's definitely a resale. I've actually
Yeah,
bought a
I'm
couple
not sure
myself.
But then again, they may want it for 8,000 to 12,000, go and do the project, now they have a stump grinder, they can take out other stumps if they ever had to. Then we're not paying somebody else to do it. By then, it's paid for itself. You're gonna probably spend 10 grand to have somebody come out and grind stumps.
I do think the teeth are fairly expensive. I didn't price it out, but I've heard they're 500 to 700 for the teeth on them.
and
I don't know how long they'd last. We haven't owned one.
On an ash tree, ash is super hard, one of the hardest woods.
Yeah, and that,
Probably
the
20
hardwood
trees.
usually chips pretty easy. It's gonna be when you hit rocks or something like that. That's what's gonna wreck the,
and you can attach that to a Bobcat?
yes.
Perfect.
I received
So I've
one
seen
estimate
them manual
on
ones.
stump grinding. It was 25 to 75,000 to remove all 477 stumps.
We could buy a lot of teeth.
So that's-
and a
So,
grinder.
yeah, we're
The
way
range is
better off
because
having
of the
Public Works
size.
do it.
Yeah.
How much was that range? 25 to what?
25 to 50,000, depending on size, location.
So that's less than $100 a tree.
Right.
A couple things, though, to also take in mind. One is the liability. Public Works is doing this in-house. Even though Mr. Becker is so helpful and willing to take on this task, thank you. I would be cautious because we have such a small crew, and when you can never have one person to fell a tree. You're gonna have at least 2 people, and that's at least 2 people to make sure you're doing it safe. And if all of a sudden you have something major happens, and we don't like to think of the water main breaks, but it does happen, it comes with all hands on deck, they're not able to leave mid cutting down a large tree. So just those things to keep in mind. I think that we run very lean already, and we actually do have some things in the works to talk to council about coming up in the next couple weeks or so with staffing for the department. But I do think that it's really important to keep in mind that it takes 2 people away of a department of basically 6. Because we have one on-call, has to do the on-call duties, and it's a pretty small department.
I
to take
think-
on such a large task. Even though I do believe that they have the skill set for it, I do think that could make it tricky.
I will say that I did 3 stumps in my yard, and the amount of cleanup, if I could have paid $100 a piece to get them ground and cleaned up, forget about it. I wouldn't even touch them myself. So I don't know that it's necessarily time or cost efficient for us to buy an attachment and then pay our guys $50, $60 an hour to do it when it's going to take you all of an hour to 2 hours each tree anyway. So
Last month, I had 30 stumps ground up for under $300.
what's that?
Last month, I had 30 stumps ground up for under $300.
Yeah, all in a small spot though, right?
Yeah, that's the thing, that was probably set up and all that.
Sure.
See, that's what I'm trying to say, in a mass amount, you know, when you're doing a lot more, I think the price would come down a lot.
I think at this point with this topic, I think there's a lot of other discussion go on with it. I think right now we should just direct staff to go apply for the grant and let's see what we get and go from there.
Can we,
agree.
can we bring it back to next cow? We can talk about more ideas.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Well, can we proceed, can we make a motion for that part though? Because either way, we're gonna apply for the
For
grants.
the grant?
Yeah.
Yes, if we could have a motion for the grant, for which trees you were talking about, which would be the ones on Parkland, if
I
that's
just
your
say,
direction.
I would leave that motion to be very broad, apply for the grant. Because if we could use some of that grant money for some of those trees, it's gonna help offset the cost all the way around. That's the way I would leave it. I'd apply for the grant and get what we can get, and definitely for our parks, for sure, and see what we can do on the boulevard trees.
Jared, would you be writing that grant stuff?
I'd be writing the application, yeah.
Do you think it would take you significantly more time to include right-of-way trees in that, or is that just a couple words that you could have in there?
It wouldn't include more time. My only hesitation in doing that without direct council instructions is that it's creating a bit of long-term policy, since it would obligate us to replant more right-of-way trees. So I just want to be clear, if the city wants to do that going forward, then I'll include that in the grant. But if we're not sure, then we might not want to include that in the grant application. Because we don't want to get those grant funds and then not use them, then we'd be unlikely to get future DNR grant funding.
That's what I was gonna ask. Can we see what they'll offer and then decide then? Because, yeah, the expense could be very high if we accept that grant and have to do it under the terms that you were talking about earlier.
Have we talked to any other cities? I know Zimmerman is applying for this grant. Have we talked to any other cities about if they're applying, or do we have any consensus? I know I think the DNR grant said roughly $7 million available. I would think we'd be more likely to get it if we have a smaller amount, but I don't know if the applicant pool is gonna be big, if we have any idea.
I would expect most, especially smaller communities, are going to at least try for it. How much they're gonna ask for is hard to say. As we've seen with just our numbers, it gets very expensive very quick, and like you said, there's $7.5 million available, with up to $500,000 being granted per application. Whether it's better to ask for everything we want or to go for less, I'm not certain.
So the maximum is 700,000 per application.
500,000.
Okay. And clarify exactly the requirements of the
There's a lot.
if we accept the grant, are you saying it was replanting?
Replanting of
Removal.
approved tree species of specific sizes, basically 2.5-inch diameter, fairly small trees in more or less the same locations, and they have to be GPSed and have a 3-year establishment plan.
Okay.
So if you were to take, just say for hypothetical, 100% of the cities in the state applied, that's $7.5 million roughly. Each city would be allocated, if it was even, roughly $16,000. So that's not very much. I don't think 100% will apply, probably for the reasons we've already talked about. That's probably too much headache for some cities to deal with this stuff. So I don't know if it's more realistic that we just apply for, say, like $100,000 range for the park trees.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think 500,000 would even come close to what we would have to do if we did all the boulevard trees and the park. So we'd be looking at least that much or more.
The estimate that I received for removing all 477 trees would be $263,000 to $550,000. Again, depending on size, how difficult they are to get to, if they have overhead utilities, plus $50,000 for stumps, plus about $155,000 for replanting. So
Okay.
most likely well over the $500,000 limit.
So 150, 200.
Anywhere from 500 to
70,000.
anywhere from 500 to 750, roughly.
When is the deadline?
October 13th, I believe.
Yeah, October 14th.
I think he gave us a lot to think about. I think we should just put this on Cow or something. We have a couple meetings we can discuss this.
I don't think he'll have the time. Grants take a lot of time to
Oh,
write.
to write
That's-
up?
That's only
Okay.
just over a month away. Josh, what's your perspective on this whole deal? Let's hear it straight.
I don't think we want to get involved with the residential trees. I think we do our park ones, and
As far as the grant goes, or as far as at all?
I think it all. I mean, it's just a lot of different people to deal with, and pleasing them all is tough, I think, but that's just my opinion.
Jared, as far as just doing the park, what's your opinion?
That'll generate fewer phone calls, I'm sure. You know, with residents, you're gonna win and lose both ways. There will be people who think they're city trees and we should remove them. There will be people who think it's their tree and who are we to come and take it even though it's gonna die next year anyway. That's a policy decision. I'll leave that to the council.
I kind of like the idea of offering like a few hundred or $400 or $500 or something per tree if the resident takes it out themselves. Depending on the size of the tree, maybe we could do it by per inch, like a rebate type program. They pay a contractor to get rid of it, and then they deal with that contractor. We don't have the headaches of having to take all these calls and everything, but they still get some sort of money back.
How many individual properties were the trees located on?
That I'm not sure of.
One thing to keep in mind is to multiply it by whatever number
Sure.
that is, by the number that you're thinking, to make sure if it is legally possible to give public funds like that. I'm not sure. I'd have to look into that just to verify. But I know that if we were able to do so, it'd have to be done fairly.
Yeah, if we did it per inch, you could add the inches together per tree. So if there's two 11-inch trees, there's 22 inches type of thing. Just an idea, I don't know. Maybe that's something for Cal, but I think for the grant, do you guys think you should just do this parks or all of it, or?
I would just focus on the parks right now, but, and then I think we should add it to the cow and come up with the actual long-term plan.
So maybe, Jared, it would be good if you could write the grant for the parks and then have most of it done, but don't submit it until after Cal in case for some reason we maybe decide to add a few words or take a few words out as far as what we cover. Would that be fair?
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay. Are you guys all okay with that? I'll entertain a motion then.
Second.
Okay, a motion by myself, second by Councilmember Lundin. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Next, L6, 2026 preliminary budget and levy adoption. Mr. Solberg.
All right, so first thing that we are seeing on there is setting the date for when our final budget and levy meeting will be. So that will be December 2nd is the date that I've set on there. So that's kind of matched up within the past, try to meet that first meeting in December, and then if there's any sort of issues that arise there, that gives us time to bring it back with that second meeting in December if there's any last minute changes that need to be had. Then the next resolution down is just to approve our 2026 preliminary budget. Like we've discussed earlier, none of this is set in stone. We've still got a little bit of ways to go kind of on our budget discussions and comparing our current years to figure out what we have going next year. So just to get that approved to allow us to then give our proposed tax levy to the county, which is that next resolution down. And that resolution has it broke out what we are levying for by fund. Any questions on any of those items?
I did have a question. The EDA, the amount is $164,675. I know that we believe in the free market generally as a council group, and I know EDA is important, but I also see that other cities and jurisdictions are making decisions that make Isani more desirable, and I don't know that we need to take taxpayer money to set aside for economic development in the city. I think it's on a good natural growth course, but I know we wanted to put some money in there for potential signage but I would propose that we lower that amount, maybe $20,000 or $30,000, so it's more around the $140,000 into the EDA. I didn't know how you guys felt about that, and then we can work down from there if we need to. But that was one thing that I think we're ahead of the curve with our market growth, and I don't think we need to continue to subsidize like other cities are.
Are you looking to keep the restaurant recruitment program in place?
Yeah, and that was, so right now it's listed as 164,000. I don't think, I mean, the restaurant recruitment program, the max grant was $10,000. We're not gonna get 15 restaurants next year.
Exactly.
Maybe 1 or 2 tops, and at that point, the market works too, so.
With that EDA funding too, that's also covering our staff time related to those EDA items too. So
Okay,
just to highlight kind of where we are, currently the EDA fund was projected to have a $52,000 net income amount, would be where we would sit, just what we have projected for 26, which, like we discussed, that was to help save up funds for the potential dynamic sign. So if we do drop that levy by 20 or 30,000, that maybe just pushes that off a few more years, just so that you guys are kind of aware of what will be kind of getting cut out with that decision, so.
potentially. Have we ever really had a discussion with the current council about a community sign? I know we've talked a lot about the alcohol sign, liquor store sign, but have we ever, between the 5 of us, had a conversation about the community sign? After we had the presentation with the huge cost, $100,000 to $200,000 for a sign, I don't know that I'm necessarily in favor of it anymore. So maybe that's a discussion item for a later date too.
Are you talking about the sign out on 65 and 5?
It would be a community sign on that corner parcel property. Now, we put the banners up now, and for me, I mean, I don't see really the value of a community sign at that kind of a cost. When we have the banners there, and then at the fire district, we still have the sign there that has our dates for our meetings. I assume we're gonna retain that sign because it's in the easement. But I don't know that we necessarily need to spend taxpayer money on a sign, a dynamic sign like that.
So the fire district sign will become theirs.
Oh.
That is not ours. It was a council decision when that lease to purchase agreement was made that we would not retain ownership of that sign, just so you're aware of that. But you're right, we haven't discussed it in a while because unfortunately, it's not unfortunate, but it just is the way that it went, that it's taken quite a long time to obtain the parcel property on that corner. But the last time it was really discussed in depth was when we allocated the 10,000, up to 10,000, I should say, to purchase that corner. But no, other than thinking that it's an idea and we know we're not gonna bond for it. So do we wanna just set aside a little every year and maybe in 5 years we would look at it?
I'm in favor of a sign there, but I like Joe's idea of maybe putting a little bit each year into it until we have enough money to put a sign up there. I think it'd be a great spot to put one. Can we do any liquor store advertising on that sign also?
I don't believe we're gonna be able to do liquor store off premise at that location. No, but we still are working to try to get that liquor sign too, or work with a partnership with a business on the east side.
Yeah, I'd like to see that a top priority to get that sign.
Yeah, the liquor store sign.
Yeah,
The liquor
pay
store
for-
sign will pay for itself in a year.
Exactly.
But the community sign, it's great and awesome and all, but that doesn't, I mean, it brings, obviously it informs people of things, but it doesn't bring in monetary value necessarily, and that means higher taxes for everybody, so I don't know, it's just a hard sell. I don't know what we can do about the public notice sign that we have at the fire district. I was not aware that was not part of our deal, which is kind of shocking. It says City of Isani on it, it's in the easement. So is that,
It was brought up as its own item for discussion. That's just the direction the council had at that time.
yeah, for what, 4 or 5 years ago?
It was probably I'd have to look it up for sure, but either in 2021 or maybe the beginning of 2022.
Okay.
That's a brick structure, isn't it?
No, it's green treated.
There's some block around that has some landscape being within it, but otherwise, it's really just
Wood.
coated metal, actually, I think it is.
We just,
But there's the sliders that you put the letters in for the council boards and dates and stuff, in the center, and then the side has just some printed signs in place.
would it be a bad idea to move that sign out to the corner for now, till we figure something else out?
So that sign goes to the fire district with the sale of the building. So they will own the sign.
You could probably just ask them.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna suggest. Why don't we ask if we can keep using
I
it?
think that Chief Jankovich was, at the time when it was discussed, that his plan was to still allow us to put our dates on there. I don't have that in writing, but his plan was not to take it over and not let us use it at that time.
Well, I guess back to the budget discussion, I think we should only put 30,000 aside for potential for a sign, not the 52,000.
I'll second that. If,
I just think we don't need, if we're gonna do a community sign, we don't have to do a Mercedes of a community sign. We don't have to spend $200,000 on a community sign.
I was surprised at the operating cost when.
Operating cost is astronomical. What was it, like $8,000 to $10,000 a year just for electricity for one of those signs?
I think it was, when I talked to him, he said it was like $800 to $1,000 a month for electricity is what the thing was, at full brightness, both sides with the panels he was talking about.
Yeah, so 9,000 to 12,000, just an electricity cost.
Yeah.
And then you're not talking depreciation either. You're gonna have to replace that sign in 10
It's got a
years. So now you're-
lifespan.
let's get that, should we get it back on Cow and have more
Yeah.
in-depth discussion about this? See if there's other options that we can get up there if we want it. You know, if we're in agreement that. we
Print a
should
lot
have
of
some-
banners for $8 to $12 a year.
Here's the whole thing, and I've said this every cotton picking year. What we set it at today, we can go way under it, we just can't go over it. You could sit there and have this discussion and drag it down to the last minute, and we'll still be in the same boat as you are having this, let's move it down, let's move it. No. We're setting it so that he can send the information to the county, and we can go way under it. It doesn't matter, we just can't go over that dollar amount. That's the whole point of the matter is, we set it and we say we can't go over it. We can't. There's no way you can go over that. We can come way down, but we just can't go over it.
I just feel like it should be accurate and not just
Right.
overshoot it recklessly like other cities do. That's why I always push it off, so especially now that we have the ash borer issue, and then there's contracts that haven't been settled. So I think just getting an educated guess on what it should be and is the way we should go. So I thought we'd just set this at our next meeting, which we have to set it by the end of September, right, Nick?
Correct, yes. It has to go to the county by September 30th.
Okay, and I think that if we need to have some more discussions at our next cow, I think we should have them, but it should be an educated guess, and it should be with plenty of thought, instead of just shooting high. That's just my 2 cents.
I agree.
I agree.
As do I.
So do you guys want to maybe let Nick continue to go through this, and then we can talk about maybe pushing into the next meeting to decide on a preliminary? Is that the direction I'm hearing?
Sure.
Yeah, but you better show up. Just saying.
Any other questions about the stuff that Nick has already covered? Otherwise, feel free to carry on if there's more on each thing that you'd like to discuss.
I don't have much more than that. If you guys are not comfortable with where those numbers are at currently to approve that tonight, we can bring it back, but I would like to have some more specific information on changes you guys would like to see, just so that I can come back with something that we think is the correct working numbers for when we get here on the 16th, if that's the direction we want to go. Like Steve said too, this is just our ceiling. There's nothing that says that at the next meeting, we can't come down and say, yep, we know that EDA budget's gonna come down that $20,000 or whatever that is too, but really up to you guys. I just wanna make sure we've got concrete amounts and are ready to go, because we don't wanna be bumping up to the end of it on the 16th and be nickel and diming down to the end when we still kind of have a couple of months to work at that also.
I think it's good to do it the whole time. If we can find ways to be more efficient from here until the end of the year, I think that's our job. I would propose that we change the EDA contribution from 52,000 for a sign to 30,000. That would be my only change, requested change at this point, and maybe you could come back with that next meeting. I don't know if anybody else has any requested changes or ideas.
That, I'll agree with that requested change, and I think the majority of us up here in the back of our minds are thinking, you know, it's a little, to me, it's just early to set even a preliminary because we have so much going on there's a lot on the plate that could be coming forward, and I hate to set an amount right now until we have more time passes and more things get clarified. So you're probably seeing a delay tactic from all of us up here for that reason. Not that we don't want to set a budget, we just want to be certain what we set is going to work. It's my opinion.
But not too high at the same point. A lot of cities get in that rut, they approve a preliminary, and then they'll get to the final and say, well, we already approved the preliminary, let's just approve it, and then you're not doing your most efficient work, in my opinion, but.
Did we want to set any money aside for the ash borer issue?
I think if Public Works can do it in any spare time, I think that would be a good way to hit it at the request of residents on those residential ones. I think that might be a fair way to start and not have to actually put any more money into it. That's my opinion. Until we see what happens with the grant.
For emergency ones, I mean, ones that really need to be cut down, I mean, if it's a top 2 feet or something, it's gonna need to get cut down, but it probably, since they both left, I'm not sure what the lifespan is of, once it starts, how fast it goes. I
3
mean,
to 5 years is what it said.
that's what I thought.
I can tell you
So there's a little bit of time unless they're half dead already, or a third even.
in real life, it's more like 6 to 8 or 9 years. I had one that was infected probably about 8 years ago, and I just cut it down and replanted about 2 months ago.
So, I mean, maybe look at it in that perspective. Get the ones that are really, really bad out first, and if we're gonna do that approach.
At the request of the resident, I think. I mean, some residents might just want to do it themselves.
How many residents don't even know though, that like, we would do it? So you're gonna,
We'd have to publicize that for sure.
right,
See, we only have the capacity to do X amount, and we'd have to lay it out that way. First come, first served, but
Prioritize-
there's only gonna be one a week, or that's all we can do, so.
that's probably prioritized by
Remote.
severity of how far along in the decay cycle it is.
Sure.
Because we did talk about what if somebody doesn't want somebody else on their property doing it, so they have the option to cut it down themselves, and then they take care of their property how they want, or if they ask us to do it, we do it for them as we have the time. I think that's the fairest way to do it myself. I don't know.
I just don't know how the ones that would come into play were, if they're by a utility that Public Works may not be comfortable with, how we're gonna tackle that then.
Well, we're gonna have further discussion on this
Yeah.
at the next meeting, so let's put it there and put some more thought into it, and maybe staff will have some more ideas by then too.
Any other items that you'd like Mr. Solberg to look at or have preliminarily planned for the next meeting that we can talk about or he can do analysis on? Otherwise, we'll talk about it at the next cow and set the preliminary in council that night. That sounds good to everybody?
Can we get a motion to postpone this to the September 16th meeting, please?
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Peterson, second by Councilmember Holmgren. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Mayor, if I could, we do have 2 items that have been added to the agenda this evening. I'm not sure how lengthy those may go. Do we want to take a recess for EDA? It's going to be a short EDA meeting as we just have 1 item on there. Or would you like to continue going forward with council?
The personnel policy, how long of a discussion is that? I don't think LMC will be
Should
too
not be a
long.
long discussion at all.
Okay.
I don't think it should be.
I would like to just keep going,
Okay, thank you.
just for continuity and ease on Facebook Live for people. So number 7, the LMC discussion. So I have talked about this quite a bit. Myself and Councilmember Holmgren are the LMC reps. We go down to the policy committees and basically make policy recommendations to the board down there, which is made of all 480 cities or whatever is in Minnesota. And we all vote on language for the policies to recommend to the State House and the State Senate. They take a lot of LMC feedback to heart, so I think it's very important that we do it. So there are 4 different committees. One is Human Resources, one is Improving Local Economies, one is Fiscal Futures, and the other is Improving Service Delivery. Each of those has quite a few different policies, and I had wanted all of us to kind of go through at some point before the next meeting and bring forward any recommendations we have for policies or things that we see shortcomings on from the state. So the first thing that I came up with that we talked about briefly tonight was the cannabis management. I would like to present something for a recuperation fee or a reimbursement fee from the state for our having to implement this stuff without getting any of the percentage of the sales back, which was, George, you touched on that, and that's a really crippling thing for especially cities that they want the free market to work. I suspect we're gonna see a large influx of cannabis stuff here because we want the free market to work, and we were under the initial impression that we would get some of that back for taxpayers, but we will not. So I would like to recommend a policy, which would be a new policy as far as I know, to get a recuperation fee. I didn't know how you guys felt on that, or if we could get, tell staff or ask staff to maybe get a round number for how much it would be per type of business, like how many hours are we gonna have into it? I know we might not have exact figures, but
Or enforcement and compliance.
enforcement, compliance, and the permitting process, we are charging, the applicant, but at the same point, the state just took any sort of potential revenue from us and just gave us the liability. We have all the liability and none of the benefit from it. So I think if we go in there with, a reasonable number, $1,500 or $2,000 per cannabis establishment, or,
Per year.
per application, I was thinking. And are the applications every year on that, or is it does it depend on the business, the application for the cannabis license?
So there's most of the license there's initial application, then there's a renewal.
So maybe we'd narrow it out as, the initial application is more, and then the renewal, the state gives back more. It's just our way to ensure that the city gets a fair cut of the revenue from that, because at the end of the day, the city allocates far more of their revenue to the metro area than they do to us out here. So I think if it's more fair across the board, it's just better for every city. So that's one idea I had. You guys have anything to add to that, or do you just want me to work with city staff and League of Minnesota staff to draft something up, or what do you think?
And Travis.
And Travis?
He'll have a good idea of what his time's gonna be involved in that.
Do you have any idea, roughly? Are they compliance checks every month, or?
The initial one that we looked at just says it's forthcoming as far as the guidance to us.
Okay, like everything else.
I don't know when that forthcoming date was, so I'll check again, but I can't have the assumption. It still says it's forthcoming, but I'll
Okay.
definitely have to look into that.
So if you guys are okay with that, I can work with city staff and league staff to draft up something on that. I'm not sure, that might be in Jeff's committee, it might be in mine, I'm not really sure where they're gonna place that. But that's one thing. And then another thing I talked about last month was to require jurisdictions to save for expected local matches on infrastructure projects. There's a lot of cities that do not do capital improvement funds for local matches, and they have huge highways that go through their cities, and then at the end of the day, they have this project come through and they say, oh, no, we don't have any money, we need the state to pay for this, and that affects our taxpayers. So I want to bring forward a policy to require jurisdictions to save for expected local matches, and that's going to be, I expect that one won't go through this year because there's a lot of avenues and different little, I guess, quirks with something like that, but that's something I'd like to present, just to get it, on people's minds this year, and we can come back with more specifics next year. And then the last one I have is the paid family medical leave. I would like to have local jurisdiction choice, whether it's a city or county choice. Right now, the state says that all cities and counties, regardless, have to abide by this unfunded paid leave, paid family medical leave push, and I don't think that's fair. I think cities should have the choice. If the city of Isani were to have the choice to not require businesses to do the paid leave, it might be an incentive or a disincentive, but I think that local jurisdictions should have that choice, so that's something I plan to bring forward. I don't think that'll be very well received, but that's something that I want to bring forward, just because we always talk about preemption, and they talk about it down there. Every city down there hates preemption, but then they vote for it. So that's something I'm going to bring forward, and we'll see where that goes.
There are a lot of metro cities that want local control too.
Yeah.
We talked about it in our meeting, one of our meetings, and I don't think anybody said anything negative about that.
Right, so I'm hoping maybe we can write that up with league staff and myself, the
I
League of
think
Minnesota staff.
they
and-
tried to pass it the last year and it didn't go anywhere, so I think there's already a resolution put forward, but they can always
Okay.
tweak it and everything.
Sure. Yeah, when I asked the league staff about it, they hadn't heard of the idea, but maybe it's in one of your committees.
I think so.
Okay.
It seemed like it was already tried before. It just didn't go anywhere at the state level in the committees.
Okay. Well, I'll bring it up anyways. I think that's human resources and local economies, and pretty much all four of the committees will be affected by that one. So maybe I can bring it forward in a different committee and see if it gets through.
Yep, Jeff, you're 100% correct too, you know, being the League of Minnesota Cities is the largest lobbying group in the state of Minnesota, and the majority of their money comes from the larger cities, and so they advocate for the policies of the larger cities and policies, and then they filter down to us or smaller cities that those type of policies just don't work for us. I mean, that's, you know, large city policies are not the same as small city policies. So yes, local control is way better, and I wish we would have had somebody on that board a long time ago, and thanks for all the work you do. And reading over this, I realize that I hope future councils never get rid of this committee, and that we always find a representative to get down there and represent our small city, because I wish we could advocate to other small cities to get involved too, so that we can get more benefit out of their lobbying, because we get ignored in the process, I believe.
Yeah, I'd say it's probably about a 5-to-1 ratio of metro city versus rural, just because it's easier for metro cities to travel 15 minutes versus rural traveling 4 hours.
Well, a lot of the bigger cities have councilmen that get paid 40 or 50.
Or staff.
Or staff, and so they're full-time city employees. They can take the time. I mean, if I didn't have a full-time job and I was doing this as a full-time job, I'd be down there as much as possible advocating for our city. So they have a lot of advantages that we don't have as a smaller city to be able to get our voice heard, and I really like all the work you're doing on this. This is great, Luke, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. This one I'm very passionate about, just trying to influence change on a bigger scale, because our hands are always tied, it seems like, with a lot of things, so. Jeff, did you have anything as far as the LMC stuff, other than I know last week, or 2 weekends ago, or 2 weeks ago, whatever, you had talked about police recruitment and police retention stuff. Did you have anything specific that you're working on with that, or do you need help from us with that, or?
Nope, I was gonna really push for, and there's a lot of other cities on board with doing something about the hiring and retention of police officers. That's a statewide issue, and it's not just at the LMC. There's meetings at, in other organizations around the state, but it just doesn't seem like it's gaining traction, and I don't know if it's in a committee some committee at the state level or what, but the LMC knows about it, and there's a lot of police chiefs around the state that were in on the meeting and talked about it. So I'll be bringing something forward, try to bring more awareness, but
Has anybody authored an amendment to the policies that are there yet?
not that I know of.
Okay,
But-
well, that you have to do that otherwise, yeah,
Yep.
okay.
But then there's a fluoride issue, and I know there's several House bills that were brought forward last session, didn't go anywhere. So I'd imagine that that's going to be brought forward several more times this next legislative session. Another thing I would like to do is, for the park dedication funds, is using some of those funds to repair your current structures. So we'll see how that goes.
So would that be in the improving service delivery, or do you know which category that would be? And I would love to be involved with presenting something on that.
I forget which one it is, but yeah.
Okay.
that'll be bringing something forward on that.
Yeah, that was something we had talked about, you know, we have all this park dedication funds, and it's only for new parks or new park amenities, but then after the end of life cycle of that new park amenity, we have to tax taxpayers to pay to replace it. So that, it would be nice if there was a way to maybe split that, part of it with development and part of it with maintenance. So that would be a good state policy change that would affect us in a positive way. Steve, Nick, George, I know you guys haven't had a lot of time to think about state stuff that maybe needs some help that we've come across, but if you got anything. Otherwise, the next meeting is actually the morning, my next two meetings are the morning of our next city council meeting, so we won't have a council meeting before. But if you guys think of anything that you want me to do work on, any sort of subcategory or policy, please email that to Ms. Wood. And Ms. Wood, can you email that out to all of us? That way we can all kind of think about it, and maybe I can come up with something for that.
Yes, I can.
So hopefully, I would like if you guys could get me something, anything you guys have by the end of this weekend or sometime early next week, so we have a week so I can work with the League of Minnesota City staff and our staff to author some stuff, if that sounds fair. Otherwise, if you guys have any other ideas
I think
right
we
now.
need to just choose wisely and just pick a couple, 2 or 3, and I really like your CIP effort, but
That
it
would be
doesn't
difficult.
benefit us at all, but it sure would help.
It will benefit our residents.
It would, well, yeah, if future councils decide not to do it that way.
No, only because right now, just say, I don't know, Minneapolis, they have 5 highways going through. They're not putting much, if any, money aside for capital improvement funds. And then when the project comes to say, oh no, state bail us out. So now they take what our residents pay into the state and they give like 80% of their state revenue to metro cities, and we only get the 20%, even though we pay in 50. So there's our taxpayers are taxed more than what they're getting back from the state in value. So if you require them to have their local match and not get bailed out by the state, then we aren't,
see the
our
direction
residents
they're
are getting a better value for their dollar that they pay to the
And-
state.
Right.
So that's where that
That's a
actually comes
great
in.
argument.
Sorry, soapbox there, but.
I'm just shocked at how many cities don't do it, and they just decide what to do with the money each year.
Well, it's on their
That's-
interest
That's just
to.
an insane.
There's,
way to
there's no,
operate.
there's no requirement to, why would they? If they can take that money and spend it somewhere else and then just get bailed out, I mean,
When you subsidize something, you get more of it. When you subsidize failure, you get more failure.
well, if you guys have anything, before, just say next Tuesday, please send it my way, or Jeff's, or I send it to Josie, and then Josie has to send it to me and Jeff and council or whatever. And then we can see what we can come up with, and I can recommend to, LMC 2 weeks from tonight.
Sounds great.
All right, item L8, was that personnel, what was the title for that one? Sorry.
Personnel policy discussion. This is a section that I believe that Councilmember Peterson wants to discuss.
All right, Mr. Peterson, whenever you're ready, take it away.
So last month, after the discussion about the park board, I was told that city employees are prohibited from exercising their Second Amendment right with a carry permit on city property. So I want to revoke this policy and allow them to protect themselves.
That's easy for me.
I never
Got a
knew this
second
was a
for me on
policy.
that one.
So we've always been allowed as council members to carry any public place, this is a public place, but apparently for workers, it's different. So I have no problem revoking this, at least for firearms. I don't know if, I assume a knife too. I don't know.
Under state statute, dangerous weapon includes firearms, but also like air rifles, I think, are included in that too, and I can pull that up.
I mean, Travis, isn't there a,
Within the personnel policy, as it's defined for weapons, weapons are defined to include all legal and illegal firearms, switchblades, knives, or any other object that has been modified to serve as a weapon or that has the primary purpose of serving as a weapon. That's the definition that's referenced within this section.
And just to clarify, we would be allowing city staff to potentially do this to protect themselves in a situation that they need to. It's not for any ill will or anything like that.
I have absolutely zero problem with it. I mean, there can't even be an argument, well, we can't have this policy. What if we have an employee that, is disgruntled? Well, it doesn't matter, because they're gonna bring it in illegally anyway, or against policy, so just doesn't make sense to have that policy at all. Can strike it.
Chief Myers, how do you feel about striking that item? Is there any concerns that you would have with just striking it, or would you rather we amend it?
Honestly, I'd rather not be involved in that conversation at all.
Okay.
Not because I'm for or against, but just because my officers carry firearms, we train them. Our responsibility is a chief to retrain those officers, so I don't want to blur that line, right? So I want to make sure there's a standard line there. So that makes sense. I just don't want to get into that discussion with other employees, because I don't want to have any responsibility come back to my department for training or responsibility for that.
Sure.
I mean, if we're gonna keep anything under that section, it could just say employees legally in possession of a firearm for which the employee holds a valid permit. If we wanted to keep that in there instead
Under
of,
state statute, they would be required to have a valid permit to be carrying in public either way. So this
okay,
is,
Our policy says the firearm has to be secured within an attended personal vehicle or concealed from view within a locked, unattended personal vehicle while the person is working on city property. So they cannot carry in City Hall based on how this is written. They can have it in their vehicle, but if something hits the fan and the vehicle doesn't really do a whole lot.
under state law, you can't prohibit an employee from storing a firearm in their vehicle. So that's why they made that allowance for that.
The only thing I would say to clarify that is if they have a permit to carry, and as long as they're not banishing it in any way in the city, I don't see a problem with it. If they have a permit to carry, they should be allowed to. If I have a permit to carry and I can walk in here with my gun, that's no different than now.